For 20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump. All right. And he gave me he's now given me, he's kept every promise that he's made to me. He's kept his word in every account and gone way beyond it. I'm so grateful to you, Mr. President. A lot of people told me that I couldn't trust President Trump, that I better get it in writing. And we did a handshake, and everything that he told me he was going to do, he has done. Right. And I'm so grateful to him, and I've told you before, I genuinely believe that you are a pivotal historical figure, and you are going to transform this country at a time when we see all of the indicia of democracy now in tatters in our country. We see the rise of the military-industrial complex, the rise of totalitarianism, these attacks on our Constitution, and this breathtaking epidemic that is disabling our people. President Trump has promised to restore the American dream in this country. A healthy person has 1,000 dreams. A sick person only has one. 60% of our population has only one dream, and they get better.
And hopefully they will. That's one of the two that got confirmed this week. With Tulsi, it's 2 out of 3. We've only got Cash left. For some reason, they are stalling on him, just like they did with Pam Bondi. I suppose they want to make sure that there's enough time before he actually is investigating what's going on.
Well, I mean, shredding takes a while. I mean, I don't know if you've ever shredded documents.
Hey,
like it could take all night, Hunley.
I haven't.
You just got to keep shredding and shredding and shredding.
And you got to run lubricant through there because they overheat. And yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, shredding is.
I mean, I remember in Watergate when Liddy goes back to the White House after the arrest that night and begins shredding documents, and then he shreds all the money, which I always thought was completely insane. I told you this in the episode that he shredded tens of thousands of dollars because it had serial numbers connected to the White House, and he was shredding documents left and right, but it took him all night is what the point of the story.
Wow, insane. I guess they need to go to Arthur Anderson and say, "Hey, how do you do mass shredding?"
Yeah, they were good at shredding.
Yeah, they were. Good old Enron, who has been in the news because of the fake CEO. And yeah, Fletcher Boy, Cash does scare them.
Dude, there's nothing they could do. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. It's like the calls are coming from within the house. the calls are in the house.
Absolutely.
Will you pinch me? Is this really happening, Eric?
It is really happening, and I'm going to have to pinch you again because we've got the illustrious Barnes with us.
Now look at this. It's like an all-star team back together again. Unbelievable. Yeah. Pinch me. Congratulations, Barnes, on the RFK confirmation.
Oh, absolutely. I'll give a credit to the state court judge in Maine appointed by the Democratic governor, who didn't let that interfere.
That's right.
With his willingness to rule in favor of Robert Kennedy.
Right.
Saying all the statements Democratic senators were making were libels right on the eve of the vote. I mean, you literally could not have had
good timing.
It was really good timing.
Good timing.
That was,
absolutely.
Cheryl
Bobby's a sweetheart.
His wife just looked like she was stunned, like she was in some movie set. You know, like he was like, Trump was pushing her to be between them in the photo. And she was like, it was surreal to her, I think.
It probably is. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say she's a sweetheart, by the way. I knew of her reputation in Hollywood that everybody liked her, like one of the very few people everybody likes in Hollywood. Yeah. But I realized why when I was at an event with her and Bobby. She would go around and find something to compliment in everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, how many times do you see that in Hollywood?
Well, there's two ways to make it in Hollywood on the actress side. One is to be super, super nice, and the other one is to be super, super slutty. There's two extremes to go. There's what we call the Sharon Stone route, and then there's the Cheryl Hines route.
What's the Black Lively route?
You talk about
that's Sharon Stone. That's the Sharon Stone route.
You know, a name that rhymes with rich or itch or twitch. Sharon Stone is one of the nastiest human beings on the planet. I had friends of mine that worked at Marmalade in Malibu. So I got to do all this, all the celebs, and so I got all the feedback. I knew David Duchovny was a sex addict before it was public.
Wait a minute.
Well, you could kind of tell by the shows that he was in.
Right,
He was like the center guy on Skinamax. Well, I remember as a teenager, he was like in every sex show. I'm like,
Californication, I think was the sex.
Yes.
Californication.
Yeah. His brother's not much different.
Brother's not much different.
The sweetheart was, what's his name? I want to say Van something, like real old guy that's real popular.
Old guy,
like
really.
Bob something. I'm blanking right now on his last name, but it was like he was like the sweetie. He would always go to the ice cream shop there, and he was always nice and chatty with everybody.
Oh, I mean, there are some really nice guys. I mean, Larry Hagman was an angel. I mean, and Hagman, as batshit crazy as he was, he loved and helped, privately, help people on the side. I mean, that's and told you, do not ever tell anybody that I helped you. One of those guys.
Oh yeah. That Trump is that way.
I had a feeling about that. I
was watching your old Tesla episode because I was doing a little deep dive on, is the pyramid an energy device and some of the, little random rabbit hole to distract my brain.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes sense. But I did know about, the John Trump background. Trump often talks about John Trump as being the one to tell the reason why he hates that his anti-war preference and instinct comes from his Uncle John.
Nobody ever mentions this. When John Trump comes up in that episode, it's almost like no one's ever mentioned this guy in the history of the earth.
I know. It's one of the less known phenomena because two things. One, the guy was a super genius, ridiculous genius. Two, conspiracy theories, or even without conspiracy theories, I think John knows where Tesla's secret inventions really went. Hidden next to the Ark of the Covenant in the Ark somewhere. But John was very influential on Trump because it was from him that he said nuclear war would be horrific. He would talk to him about it all the time, about how horrendous the fallout because of his scientific background. He understood it really well. And it really informed Trump's desire. Like people shouldn't be shocked that Trump's out there saying, I want China, Russia, and we'll go along if everybody just radically reduces their nuclear arsenal and military capacity.
Well, they're having a meltdown over Vance in Europe with Ukraine already. I mean, holy shit. They were packed in there like, let's get in there and see what this is about, Bob. Come on.
The Duran had a good breakdown on it yesterday. The Daily Starmer is now begging to run over to America to talk to Trump. The British guy who went out of his way to try to get Trump defeated in the labor leader who's already hated in his own country. Right. Because the Brits Ukraine project with George Soros is gone. That's what Hegseth is making clear. That's what Vance is making clear. I did love the way Trump smacked Zelensky around yesterday. That is like, that guy's got no approval. He's going to do what we tell him to do. That's who.
I mean, where does Zelensky go to live after they restore elections? I mean, he stays in Kiev. He's a sitting duck. If he goes to Europe, he's a sitting duck.
Where he's already got some houses between Malibu and Miami.
Right. Well, getting back to Malibu, Miami,
he's going to get the Netflix deals. Maybe that's what Joe Biden is signing up. He's promised to deliver Zelensky, and Biden's going to get his cut with I mean, how do you, if you had any doubts that this is all big bribery, how do you justify if you're Netflix or any of these big or the new Hollywood agency that just signed him up, CIA? How do you sign up Joe Biden? The man can't talk.
I brought it up last week, and it has to be projects that are going to be run through his company by his family of outside shows, like the Obamas did. In other words, the Obamas smartly brought in outside scripts, outside creative talent, and just became the shell of the production company. I think that's what they're going to do with Frankenstein here.
Yeah, it's old school bribery. It's just done indirectly, and now they've elevated. It used to be book deals, speaking honorariums, sitting on boards. And what a lot of people didn't know the government was actually using your taxpayer dollars for a lot of these bribes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
The Kennedy Center, you get these. I'll occasionally get people reach out to me, say, hey, Barnes, can you talk to some of the Trump people? There's this little commission thing that you get to do no work for $200,000. I'm like, what?
Dude, there's a reason Rob Reiner's in rehab right now. It's because USAID funded his movie God and Country, that anti-Christian, anti-Trump documentary, and he had to go disappear. They had run his social media account, which they folded the day after the election. Moby's social media account was run by the USAID. And now we're finding out that Taylor Swift and rappers from around the world are being run by USAID.
You had to know everybody. I wonder who was really good at getting the best cash out to go see Zelensky. It looks like Ben Stiller's number one right now. Somehow he got like $4 million. It's
Stiller, mad genius, Stiller. Mad genius.
They're just like his old man. It's crazy old man.
Mad genius.
Yeah, I'll go see Zelensky for $4 million.
I got a better one who may top him is Sean Penn. Sean Penn's been milking this thing going back to Haiti with the Clintons. He probably taught Ben Stiller how to do it, Bob.
Yeah, he took it to a new level, though. I brought my Oscar for you, Zelensky.
Here's my Oscar, Zelensky.
That was over the top. I ran into Penn a couple of times. Once in Malibu. Another time he was listening in on my conversation about a whole bunch of political things, and he was pretending he wasn't, by reading the newspaper, but the newspaper never moved for 2 hours.
Dude, try going into a men's room with Oliver Stone. You have to wait till he goes underneath every stall to see if anybody's in there before he'll talk to you.
Really?
You're just going into the men's room after a meeting, and he goes, wait a minute, I got to check and like he's got OCD, stall OCD.
The only person I ever met that had a younger girlfriend than Oliver Stone, who came to an event at Yale back in the day, Yale Political Union, and the young girlfriend was young, was Jesse Jackson. Now
Jesse Jackson.
Jesse
what about Bill Belichick? How about Belichick from the Patriots? I mean,
I did love. I don't know if you saw the Tom Brady interview where the guy was like doing this sort of making some jokes, but he asked Tom Brady, goes, now be honest. If Belichick's girlfriend needs you to help her rent a car, you're going to help her out, right? He took him an extra second. It was one of those delayed joke comedy.
It's pretty funny. Corolla dropped a video today. Apparently he took a drone and flew over the wreckage in Malibu and the PCH to show that not one single lot had been cleared, despite the mayor gaslighting everyone yet again, saying all the clearing has been done. And all Corolla had to do was launch a drone and take some footage this morning to show that nothing had been done. Not 10%, 0%. This mayor is running on fumes, Robert, in terms of political life, I think, here.
Yeah, I think she's DOA. It's only a matter of time. What's interesting is, I love this old book called Lords of Poverty about how the real financial aid and foreign aid systems work and the NGO world works. Now it's all fraudulent.
Yeah.
But what I never processed was the author's name. It's Graham Hancock. And I realized,
is he a screenwriter?
The same guy.
That's the ancient civilization guy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I had no idea that he was. It's a great little book.
There was a short little video. Some guy, I think the Daily Mail had it up, or BBC. He was just embittered that they pulled the plug in England. They pulled the plug on his wife's $1 million contract for some NGO that brought abstract art to Afghani women. And he said, she had a bloody contract. It's a contract. The guy couldn't get over it that Trump canceled the contract.
Well, the Constitution itself specifically states that in the legislative duties, but it's part of the president's obligations in executing them, that they will provide
this is it. Yeah, this guy. Yeah.
Full receipt and accounting of the of public expenditures and public money. That's supposed to be regular.
Well, this guy apparently didn't get the message. Run this thing for a second, Eric. It's very short.
Doesn't matter. You have a contract. So, Turquoise Mountain, which my wife Shoshana runs, has a contract, had another $1 million to go. Money just stops.
Stop. Anyway, he's embittered. But yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
What's amazing is they don't understand. I mean, the way they took the bait on this is incredible in terms of the Democratic Party. That one, they announced in advance Mark Elias and his old Democratic Party hacks. Mark Elias, huge money launderer. That's what Mark Elias says. That he tried to have his whole group of people try to file bogus ethics complaints against me years ago. So I promise that whenever I introduce his name, it's Mark Elias, unprosecuted, unindicted criminal money launderer.
That's good.
Don't know about
you know, I was watching Mark Halperin just before the show, and he was talking. Eric, I don't know if you saw it this morning too. And he's got this bug up his ass about Eric Adams in New York. You know, being the charges dropped by the Southern District of New York, as if he was convicted of murder before this, and no mention of the fact that the charges were bogus to begin with. Everybody seems to be skipping this, and the New York Times this morning, 4 articles saying this is bigger than Watergate, Robert.
The only thing I would say on that aspect of all of like Trump's pardons, his reprieves, his motions to dismiss, I recommend, and I still recommend, they get somebody that's a really effective presenter in the court of public opinion on those issues. Because like Brit Hume was like, oh, I've been asking for what the legal basis of this is, and I haven't heard anything. It was like, there's an obvious legal basis. You shouldn't have to wait for a lawyer to send you one. But the legal basis is he was prosecuted over plane tickets.
Right. And even Sean Spicer didn't have enough intelligence to even say that, what you just said. Which
is ludicrous. It's like in New York, the biggest form of corruption is taking plane tickets. Or
he got upgrades on Turkish Air. I mean,
what a crock. I mean, it's a complete joke. Not only that, it's obvious selective prosecution. When I tell people, look for lawfare, look for novel theories of prosecution. This is one. Try to find all the people where they did a upgrade as a corruption case on a federal level.
Why didn't they dismiss with prejudice?
Yeah, correct. And 2, look for cases where it's selective. In other words, similarly situated people who had done at or worse conduct were not prosecuted.
But why didn't they dismiss the charges against him with prejudice? Yeah, I'm just saying it was bullshit. They really should have thrown it out, right?
I mean, it's because Trump's keeping a little leash.
He's keeping him on a leash.
Well, that's the corrupt part.
It's without prejudice, but just in case you don't keep your word.
To be fair, there may be evidence a year from now having nothing that nobody knew about.
That's true. Yeah, theoretically, but it's like that's presidential. He should dismiss the case anyway, with or without prejudice, so that it's done and finished. And the Southern District of New York, one of the most corrupt prosecutorial units in the country, in the world.
Yeah.
I was telling Mike Lee the other day, if you're serious about congressional reform, get rid of the Southern District of New York while you get rid of the District of Columbia.
They're leaving right now. There's up to 7 resignations, so pretty soon there won't be one.
That's sweet.
Robert, let me ask you this. What can be done on the planet Earth about the federal judges other than the non-existent reality of impeachment, which is a waste of time? Is there anything, if you got rid of, let's say, the Southern District of New York, can you scatter judges to the corners of the earth?
Completely. So Congress is complete carte blanche over all inferior courts. They get to determine what inferior courts even exist.
Yeah.
So they can just, now because of life tenure, they always have to pay them, but put that aside, you can decide whether they have any authority to do anything. You can take away all of their authority overnight. The Supreme Court justices at the beginning of the country used to actually preside over trials. We didn't have all these circuit courts. We didn't have all these district courts. And right from the beginning of the country, Justice Samuel Chase weaponized the entire judicial branch against his political opponents. So what did they do? Even though he was Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, Congress impeached him. And he came within 2 votes of being convicted. The utility it provided, even though they didn't get a conviction, was the entire judicial branch said if they can do that to Chase, maybe we can be chastened, if you will.
Right, chastened. That's a good verb. So now let me ask you something. Can you go to the Supreme Court without a Solicitor General in place?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. This guy's not even scheduled to be confirmed yet.
But it's not required.
So who would act on behalf of the Department of Justice? Beyond
the Attorney General.
The Attorney General. Okay, right.
Yep.
Right.
So that's an interesting, here's a little side tidbit for everybody. Like tonight, we're going to be filing our brief for Brooke Jackson against Pfizer concerning the big vaccine corruption.
Right on.
Guess who technically is the defendant in that case?
The Trump
Secretary of Health and
Bobby Kennedy.
Bobby Kennedy is now in charge of the agency.
Right. Yeah.
So he's going to be making future decisions about what
happened.
That's
hysterical.
With that case.
So what could he do? Could he just say, you know what, we are wrong and our agency is going to pay, or what?
What he could do is 3 options. He could continue with the government's demand of dismissal.
Right on.
Or he could step in and say, we revoke because remember what their grounds for dismissal was. This is why he has broad authority. Their grounds for dismissal was not that there was anything wrong with the case. Their grounds for dismissal was it is against the public policy of the Surgeon General and the Department of Health and Human Services to even raise issues about the vaccine.
Wow.
That was their pretext. And the judge said, I don't care what their pretext is. If they say it should be dismissed, I'm going to dismiss. So the first thing he could do is he could just say there's been a change in the public policy of the federal government.
Right.
And that by itself would be grounds to reverse the case.
Right.
He could also come in and say, our position is that this case should go forward, but let us litigate it rather than the government take over. Or he could step in and say, I think this case, the U.S. government, Justice Department, Keatham Division, with the HHS and FDA need to join in prosecuting the case directly.
Wow.
So he could do any of those three things. That would be up to him. But what was interesting is I think the senators didn't want to raise it because they didn't want to highlight the Brooke Jackson case. But I was curious that they didn't ask a single question about that case during the entire Senate confirmation process. Because I was watching that. I was hoping that they wouldn't necessarily.
They went easy on Bobby. I mean, a lot easier than I thought they were going to. They didn't go personal. Mark and I talked about that before. I mean, weren't you surprised that they didn't pull any of his personal background?
I thought it was going to be the regular smears and libels, though I would say that I thought Democrats would be smart enough for at least some of them. White House has been his personal friend since they roomed together in law school, University of Virginia.
I didn't know that. He's almost Sheldon.
Sheldon Whitehouse.
Sheldon Whitehouse.
And yet he turned around and stabs his lifelong friend in the back. Bernie Sanders. At one point you even saw a little bit of slip from Robert Kennedy. He said, "Hey, Bernie." Didn't even say senator.
Yeah,
that's how much they've been friends going way back.
Yeah.
And yet Bernie totally sabotages. He and Warren have not liked each other for forever. Warren tried to get his book banned from Amazon, all that kind of stuff.
So I remember that. Yeah.
But it was just I had put out there with the suit when the governor of Hawaii started saying he was going to raise all these libels again. Mm-hmm. I made it clear to that whole, as like anybody who does this has a risk of getting sued. Especially if Kennedy doesn't get confirmed, you're just going to be in a long litany of libel lawsuits.
Oh, that's good to know.
That was reinforced by the judge making that ruling. And all of a sudden, you didn't hear them talk about that anymore. They started to retract. But it's like what Mark Cochran was saying on Two-Way. You have Danny Negreanu, poker player, saying it's like the Democrats have become masters at finding the worst possible hand and using that to deal. He's like,
doubling down is a poker term. I mean,
it is.
They're doubling down on this.
Well, and imagine if I would have told you 2 months ago, Trump is going to have the entire Democratic media apparatus screaming in defense of foreign aid, illegal immigration, and bureaucrats. You'd have been like, no way he's going to sucker them into the.
Well,
that's exactly what they're doing.
Elizabeth Warren's whole argument with Kennedy was he was threatening Pfizer. He was threatening Big Pharma. How dare you?
You're not going to still sue the drug companies, are you?
How dare you? I want you to agree not to sue them for 50 years after you leave office. I'll
give Bobby credit. Bobby's like, I'm not promising you I'm not suing him.
Right.
All right, Mark and Robert, we actually have another guest with us who's going to be here for a little while. I don't know. You may be familiar with her, Robert. Her name is Shipwreck. She is a commentator. She's on X, has quite a following. And Mark was telling me about her earlier this week because of the whole JFK or Hidden Files task force.
Right.
Whatever Representative Luna is behind Comer, there's some real chicanery going on. She was doing a great job discussing.
Great job.
Some gatekeeping situation. So,
welcome,
Shipwreck. Welcome.
Yep. We can hear you fine.
Shipwreck crew, because the Shipwreck crew and I.
People confuse me all the time with the Shipwrecked crew. We are not the Shipwrecked crew, and they are not.
All right.
So they're great. I've checked them out a whole bunch of times because people are like, I saw you on this show, and I'm like, cool. Then I go look, and it's not me, and I'm like, that's all right though.
Well, who are you? Let's get to you. Never mind.
My name is Shipwreck, and I talk about politics on the internet. I live in Iowa. I have a bunch of kids. They play basketball. Married. I stay home.
Do you ever read any of the polling in the Des Moines Register that you
found
found out?
You know what? Listen. No, but I reported when that lady done messed it all up, and then she quit. I can't remember who that was.
I've told our listeners to keep an eye on her because eventually she's going to end up being the dean of a college somewhere around you. That's going to be her payoff, is the dean of a college.
Well, if college is even a thing then, though. I mean, they're talking the way this whole thing's been going. I'm not even sure that some of these elite colleges will even be a thing anymore. Donald Trump at one point had talked about starting like a free university. This was a while back, where he was going to start, and it was going to be free, and it was going to be like the patriotic American university. So I'm kind of hoping something like that starts taking off in some of these more leftist colleges.
You have a military background. You have some kids. You have a husband. What's going on over there in Iowa?
So my old man was Navy, and he passed in 2018. And 2019 is kind of when I started all of this. I started on TikTok, and it started over masks. I had gotten kicked out of my mom Facebook group on Facebook over masks because they wanted kids to wear masks while they were wrestling. And I didn't think that made any damn sense. So I took to TikTok, made a couple videos about it. I found my people, man. And then it just went from mask to Out of the Shadows to I watched all those documentaries about Project Mockingbird. And then it went to like the media, and then it went to Trump, and I got into the time travel stuff, and it just went on and on and on. And then I started getting kicked off the internet.
Wow.
Off of TikTok. I was kicked off of Twitter when it was Twitter. I was kicked off of Instagram. We were
just about the time travel stuff. This is 2026. We're broadcasting right now for your.
Yeah, no, not about. Yes, we're in 20. Right, exactly.
This is 2026. We're in now.
Man, the time travel
somehow you did it. I don't know how you pulled it off, but you've come from the past into our
magic.
Show. Right. Now tell me about your beef with Luna, because I had the same beef as you, and that's why I reached out to you, because I don't know who this woman is. Maybe you know more about her than I do. I don't get where she's coming from. I don't understand who died and made her boss. I saw your little mini rant on Twitter, and I thought I'd reach out to you. What is your take on this woman?
I don't have personal beef with Luna. Okay, my beef is with pretty much the entirety of Congress and the whole show that they put on. We have one of the things that we do pretty consistently is we stream a lot of these hearings, especially bigger hearings. We've been streaming the confirmation hearings. We streamed when Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and the old owner of Twitter, when they went before. We've streamed all these hearings. We've sat for all these hearings, Dr. Fauci, all this stuff. My beef is with a lot of these congressmen. And my beef particularly, and it's not, I don't even know that it's Luna like herself. I think she's just kind of the mouthpiece of this.
Yeah.
As soon as it was announced that they were going to declassify the JFK files and all those old files that everybody and that has been doing this, people have been doing this longer than me. Okay. People that they've been shamed, they've been kicked off the internet. Like these people that have been doing this a long time, all of a sudden are going to get access to these files and possibly potentially get access to validate what they have been trying to say for 40 years, 20 years, however long they've been doing, longer than me. Okay. So we get these files. All right. We're like, all right, we're going to declass. We're thinking it's going to go on X, kind of like the Twitter files did, where we had a couple reporters that were reporting on it, but you had access to all the files all at the same time that they did. Yeah. So you could get your information from whomever you want. And I don't remember who it all was at the time, but that's how we thought it was going to go. I was like, or they was going to be put on the White House.
I thought the same thing.
We're like, we're going to download. Tucker Carlson will probably do a big thing on it, right? We're going to get it. We're going to be able to read through it. And then when Luna and it was Comey, right? Is that who it was?
Comer.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
James. Yes,
James Comer from Kentucky. Yeah.
You are correct. It was all of a sudden I get a big notification that Luna and Comer are going to have this big press here, and all my people are going nuts. They're like, "Are you going to stream this?" And we were not. The reason we were not is we had basketball. My kids are in all the sports, so we did not stream it. But I caught it on the back end, and everybody was built up for this announcement. This is something else that they do, and it drives me freaking insane. They all built themselves up for this big announcement, and we're thinking like someone's going to go to jail or something's. They come out and they're like, "We've created a task force to get the JFK files out there to you." And I'm like, well, now hold on. Declass means we all get access to it regardless, right?
Yeah, right.
They're like, yep, but there's a process and we need to go through it first. No, I don't need it filtered through. But one, I don't need it filtered through Luna. Okay. Luna, whose claim to fame right now is that she got to be on Maxim. Like that's pinned to her X account. That's like her claim to fame. Look, and I got no problem with it. If you look great in a bikini and that was your dream, was to be on Maxim, you bet. Okay, you bet. But you're a United States congressman now. Okay, so maybe we should aim a little higher.
Right.
Okay. Then second, now she's going to head up this task. So I went to task with her, and I took all my people and everybody in her comments, everybody in my comments, everybody in comments everywhere. I know that there were a couple other big creators that kind of went at her, and we weren't dicks, not in the beginning. We weren't jerks about it. We were like, hey, I don't think a taxpayer-funded task force is needed for this. One, this information is 50, 60 years old. Okay, I need a task force to figure out how I don't have to pay taxes going into the summer so we can go on vacation. Like, let's do that. I don't need a task force for this.
But let me ask something. I was under the impression that Trump had written an executive order tasking Tulsi Gabbard at ODNI, the Justice Department, and the FBI to bring him a plan within 45 and 15 days. I don't know where she fits into that plan. That was my right.
Nowhere.
That's I know.
That's just it. Nowhere. That's this gets me fired up.
Essentially doing it the night before Gabbard is sworn in. And in terms of seniority and in terms of power, Gabbard would be in charge of this thing, overseeing the CIA, overseeing the Eric, am I correct here in terms of ODNI?
Well, he said the DNI will devise a plan to release it. So she would delegate it or do whatever is
right. So this woman coming out the night before is really stepping on the feet of Tulsi Gabbard, as far as I see.
Well, and Trump, they're inserting themselves.
What's that?
Unless Tulsi and them worked something out beforehand, which I didn't get the impression that they
unless
did.
Trump has authorized this congresswoman to do this, which is extremely confusing because I don't know if they have subpoena power or declassification power. She claimed to have top secret clearance for this and is trying to get top secret clearance for everyone's staff.
That doesn't make any sense. Not Luna.
That's what she said, though.
I could see maybe like a Jim Jordan, who's been in Congress for 1 billion years. I have the same problem with Jim Jordan and his strongly worded letters, right? I got the same grievances with them. But I could see maybe Jim Jordan, something like this. But like with Luna, no, I don't. And I feel like, and then I'd posted that video, and I don't remember who, one of you messaged me about the video. There was a video that was done, and I have it here. It was James O'Keefe, OMG Media. So James O'Keefe, back in January, went undercover and was talking to a former Biden staffer. That Biden staffer's name was Brian Cohens, and he was an executive branch fellow under the Joe Biden administration. Now, what James O'Keefe does is he pretends he's on a date with this guy, and this guy just starts spilling his secrets. And in this video, this guy admits that a lot of times when it comes to things like this, from declassification to like the COVID stuff and all the mandates and stuff that were going on to Dr. Anthony Fauci's hearing, what they'll do is they will create these task force, or they will create these committees in order to slow roll that information out, or possibly just sit on it forever.
Well, she added every conspiracy in the history of the United States to the committee, Shipwreck. She added 9/11. She added the Epstein files. She added UFOs. I mean, she added the Lincoln conspiracy, the George Washington conspiracy. I mean, and not only that, have you seen the other members on the committee?
I have not, no.
Or how about a woman named Presley? How about a woman named Tlaib? How about Elizabeth Eleanor Holmes Norton? How about Ro Khanna? You think they're going to sit still while she's rolling around in these documents? These are hardcore leftist people on this oversight committee. I mean, maybe they tricked her into doing this. Maybe they deceived her, Eric.
I don't know. The thing is, my big issue is that the Twitter files analogy is interesting. Okay, so Twitter files were released. Congress had hearings. They both happened. The way they're doing it here is as soon as she said the word skiff, that made alarm bells go off. Because that is saying keeping something secret. Now, what Mark and I have been just saying, just release the damn files, and then you can have all the hearings you want. That's cool. Everybody will be investigating the files. You have your hearings. Everybody's good. This is an insertion. Trump wrote the executive orders for Tulsi Gabbard to release this or have a plan. That's the problem, too, is he said have a plan. He didn't say release. He said have a plan to.
Right.
So the plan could be, in 150 years, we'll do it.
Yeah.
But they are just, in my opinion, inserting themselves. They created this committee and saying, we're going to, no. It's already done. You have no relevance here whatsoever. And then she followed up. I don't know if you saw what she put out last night, but she tried to backtrack it.
I did. Yeah, she tried to walk it back, Eric.
But she said nothing. It was like a complete non-statement.
Non sequiturs. I mean, I didn't understand what she was saying.
I don't have time for any of that. I muted her. I was like, I'm all done with you, and I'll never ever listen to you ever again. And that's kind of the thing. Now listen.
Well, what if I'm in a gentleman's club in Tampa and she's working there?
That's all you. That's you. Your show.
Okay, all right. Okay.
That's all you. I'll like the show, but I'm not gonna watch it. I don't ever want to see her. Like I get super frustrated with Congress. I'm just hundreds of hours of hearings we've sat here, and now we watched this hearing, and the hearing was specifically named "Holding Dr. Anthony Fauci Accountable," and we all tuned in because we were like, "Frick yeah, we're gonna go." And we watch it, and they're sticking it to him, and he's like Hubbardin, and he's what is it called when you lie on the floor of Congress? It's nope, what's it called?
Perjury.
Contempt of Congress?
Perjury. He
perjury.
Perjured himself. Like we're fact checking in real time, right? We're like, and then they come out, he perjured himself. And then the very next thing I see a month later is a CBS special on how Dr. Anthony Fauci is enjoying his retirement. And he's walking around with his ugly wife. And I'm like, arrest that dude. He broke the law. Arrest that dude. But I want to go back. Let me get on a tangent. I want to go back to this. So let's see, was it this summer? It was before the election. Tucker Carlson did an interview, and I don't remember who it was with, but they were talking about Mike Pompeo. And when they were talking about Mike Pompeo, the subject of the JFK files kind of came into have you heard
I've
this?
seen it. Of course. I saw the interview. Yeah.
So they're having this interview, and Mike Pompeo had told Trump back when Trump was president back in 2016 through 2020 at one point, he had told him that, hey, he didn't want them to release the JFK files because there were people that were still alive that could be detrimentally impacted by whatever was in those files. And now here we are in 2025. I almost said 2021, 2025. Okay. Either those people are still alive or they're dead, but we're going to get the files. But that's every time that they came out and they're trying to they create these committees and they're trying to kind of stonewall this information. I keep going back to that conversation with Tucker Carlson. I'm like, there are people in these files that are still alive that can still be held accountable. And that probably would be if this information gets out to the public. So they are trying to slow roll the information, or they're trying to put stops in it. Why it's Luna, I have no idea. She hasn't even been in Congress that long.
I think she's just a mouthpiece for some group. It just seems incomprehensible to me that this woman who knows nothing about this subject would wake up one day and insert herself into one of the most volatile issues in American history.
Well,
just to add one little addition to that Tucker thing. Tucker said that somebody from the staff of Mike Pompeo called him the next day after that broadcast you were talking about, threatening him with treason for releasing that information, by the way.
Yep, I remember that. Yeah, that was so every time the subject of JFK comes up, I go back to that conversation. And then I watch and then for Luna to come out on X and basically accuse everybody that had an opinion about this that wasn't aligned with her own of being some kind of like operative.
Right.
Was
sounds
hilarious.
like projection. It sounds like projection.
Sounds a little like projection, doesn't it? Ma'am, I'm just some chick in Iowa. I got kids. I don't go I don't do anything. I don't pay to do this. Nobody's paying me to do this. Like I get ad revenue. That's it.
Well,
like
Trump famously said on Rogan that about the Pompeo thing that he may have been deceived by Pompeo.
Oh yeah.
When he did the Joe Rogan thing.
Like Mike Pompeo, I was a big fan when Mike Pompeo was big, and then Mike Pompeo lost the weight and lost his mind. He's all
you think it was Ozempic that drove him insane? Is that what you're
I don't even know if it's him. Like if we're gonna you want to get some rabbit holes. I'm not even fully convinced.
You don't even think it's the same guy. You think
I don't think so.
The former Pompeo has been lost through Ozempic and is now somewhere else.
Yeah, he's somewhere else. Probably another
I like
planet.
the way you think, Shipwreck. I like that.
And then, listen, I sat here and watched 7 different Joe Bidens run this country over the last 4 years.
That's true.
You're not going to tell me that they're not trying to like skim something. I'm not saying.
Well, how about the Joe Biden that was the president of the Hair Club for Men? How about that Joe Biden?
Where's that guy?
Where's that guy?
Where is Joe Biden?
I'm
hearing more about Kamala Harris than I am about Joe Biden right now.
What happened to comb over Biden? One of the first Bidens.
What happened to attached earlobe Biden? Where's that guy?
Where'd that guy go? How about the scratch and sniff biting child Joe Biden?
Oh, he's still there.
He's still there. There's so many conspiracies around this whole thing. And I will entertain everything. I've entertained. Oh yeah. Okay. Flat Earth, fake moon.
Says that right outside your door. Conspiracies can come here.
Yeah, I welcome everything, because the reality is none of us know for absolutely sure. And if you feel like something's up, like I feel like something's up with this Luna thing, and I feel like
it stinks. It stinks.
I feel like she's not even directly involved. I feel like, just like you said, she's the mouthpiece. She's probably getting a little kickback doing this. She's gonna be politically famous, and which at the end of the day, there is a large number of people that sit on the floor of Congress where that is the only reason that they are there.
She was on Fox that night.
They can go on Fox News.
You said that. You actually said that. And she was on a number of hours later.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's all about political fame, and it drives me fucking crazy. The reason it drives me crazy is that we already got a Hollywood, and that's already gross, right? If you want to act like DC Hollywood, then maybe we should go in there and start sniffing around too.
Well, now she's putting a biblical thing. She put up John 3:16 last night.
She can John 3:16 these nuts. Like, God doesn't like hypocrites. I'm so sorry. And you know what? It's wild to me, because after all this went down, there was another senator who all of a sudden followed me on X. And it's the other lady with the glasses. I can't think of her name. She looks like Sarah Palin, but she's younger.
The other lady with
glasses. Got dark hair.
Blackburn? You talking about Blackburn?
Lauren Boebert?
No, Boebert. Yes, it's Boebert. She followed me after all this. And I was like, oh, you don't like this other chick. I got you.
I see a cat fight between Boebert and Luna.
Yeah.
No, there's a little MJ, Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's some friction. Ladies.
Don't even get me. Listen, Marjorie Taylor Greene retweeted one of my videos one day. Everyone's like, that's so cool. But here's the kicker, is that my video was directed a large part at Marjorie Taylor Greene. And at the time, it was when I was pushing back on the Israel stuff. I liked Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she does a great job standing up there and boosting everybody up and getting her fiery words in. But that's reality. That's all she's ever done. She's the one that wanted to impeach Joe Biden. She introduced the articles, and she wasted a bunch of people's time because she knew it wasn't going to go through. We didn't own the House. We didn't own the Senate. You know that's not going to go through. The only reason you did it was so that you could go on Fox News that night. Marjorie Taylor Greene rose to fame, political fame, on the backs of conspiracy theorists talking about Jewish space lasers and Q. Right. And then as soon as she got elected in, she dropped that shit real quick.
Yeah, it disappeared. What happened to the conspiracy?
What happened to that?
Conspiracy Boebert.
I liked the conspiracy. You know what? Because now here in 2025, Jewish space lasers doesn't sound so crazy when you start talking about EMPs and what happened in Hawaii and what happened in Los Angeles. Like, it all of a sudden doesn't sound so super crazy. Are they Jewish? Maybe they're not Jewish.
Wait. Is Boebert Jewish? Because
I don't know if Boebert's Jewish. I know that.
I'm Grobert. She's Boebert. So maybe there's something there.
Maybe she is. Yeah. I don't have a problem with Jewish people, man, but that's a whole other thing too.
Who's kidding?
No, I really don't. Like, I don't have a problem with the Jewish people, but I got a big problem with Israel's government. Like, your boy up there's just a big old.
Well, you shouldn't have voted for him.
I did, exactly. I shouldn't have sent all my tax money to him.
It sounds like it's an independent country, but
gross.
I see what you're saying. You know what? Maybe Obama, if he was successful, he could have toppled the Netanyahu re-election campaign, but he failed through USAID. So that was awkward. That was awkward.
That's weird.
All right. So, okay.
Yes.
Now we know who Shipwreck is. Can you come back for a longer segment in the future?
I'd love to.
This is great because I feel comfortable talking to you. I don't have any pants on, but I still feel extremely comfortable talking to you about conspiracies.
You bet. I'm here. And like I said, I'm open to any conspiracy you have. Like,
All right.
I'm not going to shame
I'm
anybody.
going to give you like a top 5 list when you come back, and we'll just kick it 1
Listen,
through 5.
if JP Morgan and the Titanic isn't on that list, I'm going to be wildly disappointed.
The Titanic is number 1. Obviously, the Jews killed Kennedy is number 2.
We've done the business coup. With Smedley.
With the Morgan and the coup against FDR. Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one, too.
We've done that as an episode, actually. So that's out. But we'll find some good conspiracies for you, young lady.
You bet. So, as I said, do I leave then? Do I just say goodbye?
Take your personal stuff. Take your personal stuff and get out.
All right, goodbye. Thanks for having me. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you, honey. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. It's hysterical. All right. Well, getting back to our regular show, I don't know what that was about, but I just thought I'd reach out to her.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to be
Sorry about that,
affiliation with any unknown accusations, just in case.
Yeah, I don't. She's on. Who is Shipwreck and who is Shipwrecked? It's 2 different organizations.
Shipwreck Crew is this defense lawyer who should not drink and tweet. And does.
Boy.
And so he's often going after Julie Kelly and going after people doing good work. He attacks me and Viva, recurrently.
What?
No wonder you were going, oh, Jesus, Shipwreck.
And this is one case. It used to be the case that I was always getting Viva in trouble, that somebody was mad at me and they attacked Viva. Now Vivek does it all the time himself. He's getting.
That's what Eric was talking about before the show.
Yeah,
and after this,
Lindsay Lee,
Lindsay Lee, or Lucy Liu, one or the other.
Yeah,
by the way, I'm on a quest to see all 10 Best Picture nominees, and I got to Dune Part 2. It took me 2 nights, so I had to go back and watch Dune Part 1. So I finished Dune 2. I crossed that off the list last night.
Any ideas? So I put out my own picks at sportspicks.locals.com on the Oscars. What are your thoughts on who might win? Who might?
Okay, here is the inside darkness right now. There's a dark horse. Telling you this as a friend, and it's bizarre. I've seen almost all of the movies so far, and the word on the inside is coming up on the rail is Honora.
Yeah,
remember you heard that.
Yeah.
Honora,
I know. It keeps. It just surged. It just took off. Once it won Best Director at the Directors Guild.
Yeah, Best Director. He's a writer, producer. It's a guy named Sean Baker.
Isn't it
who spends his whole life in strip clubs and is proud of it, and kind of a despicable cat, from what I understand.
Yeah,
has made.
I mean, odd. I mean, he's choosing this. Now, doesn't this movie feel a little deep statey to you?
Yeah,
you know, the Russian themes, the anti-Russian subplot.
Dude, it's so crazy. We watched it the other night. 40 minutes, the first 40 minutes of the movie are fine. They're partying. He's a Russian kid. He's an oligarch's son, lives in Sheepshead Bay. You see Trump Village is involved, where all my relatives lived when Trump's father built it in Coney Island. It's that whole setting down there, the yards. There's been a bunch of movies that have been shot in and based in Coney Island involving Russians. But this thing, all of a sudden, at the 40-minute mark, goes completely off the rails. For 35 minutes, they've got this girl in his house trying to prevent her from leaving, and she's just dropping F-bomb after F-bomb, and these are Russian thugs, and it turns into some screwball comedy, and we're just sitting there with our mouths hanging open for 35 minutes going, what happened to the other movie? You know, but apparently the word on the street right now is it's a dark horse candidate for Best Picture.
It's moved up in the favorite a bunch of betting markets.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I still think the Brutalist might pull it out.
Yeah,
it's good. What do you think? Have you seen it?
I have not seen it, but Brody already has an Oscar, and it's got Yahtzees in it. So sometimes they don't like to go that route.
That's what I was debating.
Yeah,
remember the old joke from Ricky Gervais? To what's her name at one of the lower level award ceremonies? The woman who's the actress in Titanic, and
Kate Winslet.
Yeah, Kate Winslet.
Yeah,
and Winslet didn't win, and I don't think she won for that, but then she won later for a movie that had some Holocaust tie-in.
Yeah, that'll give it.
Ricky was like, I told you got to play a Jew. But it was classic Ricky Gervais. But that used to be But I was thinking, on the other hand, as I was watching a lot of the Israeli debate, I was like, if you have, I think that Hollywood split. You got the crazy woke movie, the trans movie that even my lefty friends all hate. They say it's just an.
Let me tell you something. It is so bad, and the songs are so bad. The dance numbers are okay. The plot is insane. Everything about it is completely insane. It looks like a low budget indie the way it's lit, and I think with the tweets and the emails coming out of the trans star, as you may have heard. She's apparently no fan of a particular guy who may have overdosed on fentanyl a number of years ago, causing riots around the country. And apparently she is in the doghouse now politically. So they're stuck. Their trans movie has now become a Trump talking point, to put it bluntly. So that's why Honora is now being considered, because the whole thing blew up. It blew up. And the whole betting line, I don't know if you're watching the betting line, but it's now completely going haywire because that trans movie was such a favorite and it's exploded.
Well, the Friday Night Tights crowd, that's like, the nerdrotic and critical drinker and geeks and gamers and all those crowds. They were hoping and cheering for the trans actress to win both Best Actor and Best Actress.
Why not? It's time.
Oh, that's funny.
It's time.
That's funny.
No, it'd be great.
I'm looking at my list here. Hold on, let me get my list.
While you're getting your list, let's talk about something we have coming up in April, Mark.
Oh yeah, we got Bob's birthday. Bob's Big Balls birthday bash coming out of Las Vegas, and a middleweight fighter out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Bob's Big Balls Birthday Bash Barnes at the usual place, Robert, where we usually have these things. I've been dealing with a guy named Benny. I don't know if he's killing me or wants to strangle me or what. If I'm going to get whacked at this place or not, Robert. But yeah, well, hopefully we'll have a great time there. I got a big birthday cake for you, and the buffet, and the Sinatra room, and the whole 9 yards. So I'm looking forward to this, man. I'm looking forward.
It's a beautiful place. You guys have been there. It's
we'll have a panel discussion. There's a guy threatening to come from Boca Raton, Robert. This guy Viva says that we can't keep him away now. I don't know if that's fair.
I was trying to look at for the later fundraiser we're going to do for 1776 Law Center in Florida. Okay. And I was thinking about Mar-a-Lago, combining it with ever since Trump won, prices have gone. Prices about almost $2,000 a person.
Not only that, real estate people in Palm Beach have told me everything's gone through the roof. Just homes and apartments separate from Mar-a-Lago. The entire region has exploded real estate wise.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. So there'll be a lot of fun. And we'll see how all that progresses.
And also, you're receiving the second annual Friend of America's Untold Story Award. Viva completely embittered now. He thought it was a Lifetime Achievement Award, and he was the only one. And now you're receiving it. He's threatening to come out and try to confiscate it or something. I'm not sure what his plan is at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you remember unstructured.locals.com is wherever that's still the address, right?
Yeah, unstructured.locals.com. Where you can also watch the entire show without commercials, from what I understand. Some people are flipping out. Do your people flip out about commercials, Robert, or no?
It varies. So there's a good number. I mean, we're mostly on Rumble.
Yeah.
I would say almost most of our local supporters watch on Locals. Some, depending on where they're at, will be on Rumble or maybe on YouTube. It's only on YouTube later. Some people do like to listen to the podcast in different formats, but increasingly over time, they went to Locals because they could be part of a separate chat. Not to have to deal with whoever happens to pop in on Rumble or YouTube. So
speaking of Rumble, did you see Pavlovsky in the driver's seat there at the presser?
Yeah, that was good. And Trump started to put stuff out on Truth related, linking to Rumble videos.
Oh, so I didn't know that.
That's very good for them. I mean, obviously they needed the election to go a certain way, or they were in serious financial trouble.
Yeah.
Because of what was going to come down the pipeline censorship wise. But they got a big case against Google scheduled for trial in May.
Wonderful.
Hopefully the judge allows some part of the case to go forward. He should, but you never know. It's California.
Will the Associated Press buckle about the Gulf of America, Robert?
You know what people forget randomly, speaking of the big media institutions like Reuters, I even forgot, Reuters, remember, got a bunch of sweetheart deep state contracts going all the way back in Iran.
Yeah.
The people forget, I guess that could be in America's Untold Story, the long deep state ties of Reuters from its
Reuters, man. And apparently we were paying 8% of the entire budget of the BBC.
Yeah. They took Operation
Foreign Tentacles.
They took a lot of stuff that you've talked about, Operation Mockingbird, the various, people forget about all the arts and culture institutes the CIA set up that were fakes and fronts. The publishing
Mike Benz
houses
was talking about it, and I was sitting there going, I hope he watched the episode, because this goes back. We talked about all the way going back to the Beatles. I mean, going back when using it as a weapon against the Cold War. But now, when we talked about Rob Reiner, and we talked about Moby, and we talked about the deep state taking over their social media accounts, Moby bragged about it, how he turned it over to the CIA to attack Trump. Rob Reiner famously turned it over to them. And now we're learning Taylor Swift and, 22 rappers from the Caribbean and the Congo have been brought in, being taught how to politically rap by the USAID. I mean, this thing I thought went away. I didn't know it got worse.
I know. And I knew they had shifted to these fronts, but I didn't realize they got really brazen in their, here's my favorite.
You think Cuban Twitter is not brazen enough, creating a phony Twitter for Cuba?
Well,
How about that crazy crap?
I mean, well, I think they're behind a lot of the weapons that they're blaming on Cuba. I think it's their own experiments they want to blame on other people because it's disproportionately happening to U.S. State Department people. I think they're just guinea pigs.
It's coming from inside the building. It's inside the building.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, all of it. I mean, it's just that they were so. I mean, if you look at D.C., the number one thing they're searching for currently is they're searching for criminal defense lawyers. Number one, number two search is how to wire money to a foreign bank.
That's a good one. You need to know that, Robert.
And then the third thing is all their houses are for sale. Go to look at the sudden skyrocketing. Wow. Everybody can't afford their mortgage anymore in Alexandria, in the whole DC area.
Let me ask you this. What happens when we find the identity, the actual name of the pipe bomber from January 6th? I'm just going to tell me where this story goes. Obviously, an undercover DC police officer, as much as we know right now. What happens when we learn his name and identity and we ask him why he was putting pipe bombs there?
Well, I'll throw out something else out there to make sure, you throw in Nick Fuentes and some other things. I want to make sure Eric has enough attention coming into the chat. I think QAnon was an early AI effort to create informants and infiltrators and instigators, etc. Okay. I've been urging people in the January 6th cases to demand discovery of everything related to QAnon, because I thought if you looked into Q, you'd find it's actually a government-created op.
Wow, that's good idea.
I have somebody on this claiming to be part of the creation of it.
Yeah, the only ones who ever mention it are them. The people on the far left going, QAnon.
Everything about it, especially towards the end, the way they were trying to get people to say the military was secretly on their side, so they should be aligned with Milley. They should be telling Trump to disband the election and, bring in the military, all these things that were traps, traps for them, traps for Trump that Trump managed to maneuver around. But some of them didn't. And I think they were the ones on the message boards trying to instigate a big January 6th event. So I think you're going to find Q connected to the bogus bomb threat that was all part of an undercover operation. I remember thinking I was up because I was there the night before and the day of.
Was it to draw the police from the Capitol to the bomb site, has been alleged by some people, that it was to draw the cops away from the Capitol?
I think the thought,
because what is the purpose of the bomb?
I think the original premise was they thought a bunch of people. I think the bomb was put there so that someone could be a hero and stop the bomb and say, "Oh my goodness, these people are also crazy."
But they never found it. Is the problem?
Right, correct. Right. I think the other problem is something went AWOL. It was kind of like the Oswald and everything. JFK. There's a few things that happen. You're like, I don't think that was part of the plan. Something went AWOL, and they had to be.
Okay, let me just interject. I believe the first part is correct. I believe that they felt a citizen would find this thing, scream holy hell, and there would be mass responders. But nobody found the goddamn bombs. So they had to send in their own operatives, Robert.
Yeah, well, I think that was, And I also think they thought that all the talk that they were inspiring on social media was going to lead to an actual violent assault.
Yeah,
because they had all these people talking big on the keyboards. Now the question is, how many of those keyboard warriors were undercover agents?
Right.
So they're talking to each other.
And how come Kamala Harris never said she was almost destroyed by a pipe bomb?
Yeah, exactly.
How come they never crowed about that?
There were huge hurdles in that. There's a reason Biden pardoned everybody on the January 6th committee.
Yeah,
it's everything where that leads, everywhere that goes. It's like Ukraine. It's this bottomless pit of corruption that it unmasks. That's why. Daily Starmer is running over here from the UK to try to beg Trump to get off of the current Ukraine peace path that he's on. Nothing's going to stop him on that.
No, absolutely. That's a runaway freight train.
Completely. Yeah. But what they're terrified of is not that war ending. They're terrified is if he's serious about looking to where all the money has gone over all the years.
Oh, boy, that's trouble.
Implicate everybody. Everybody.
Okay, let me ask something. If they turn off the spigot on USAID, will the same bad people go to Europe to get that same money?
The problem is they don't have it at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the Germany right now. We'll see if AFD surges. Basham has got a new poll out for the UK Express that says AFD is surging. What are they going to do? Are they going to just shut down the elections like they did in Romania?
Is Romania just a huge NATO base at this point, and the tip of the spear against Russia, just looking at Crimea all day? I mean, what is the point of Romania at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's the incredible inability to withstand any degree of dissent is extraordinary. I mean, Orban used to be an ally. He was a Clinton guy back in the 90s.
Well,
and
also
made
Poland
him a
with
complete
Tusk,
adversary of the EU.
They're talking about jailing every single person who is an adversary as one of their systems. I mean, that's part of the operation, is jailing them. We didn't see it until the
look
Trump
at
thing.
the president. Look at the president of Slovakia. He's like, I'd like, and Orban said the same thing with Tucker Carlson. Tucker was over in Dubai doing some sort of conference thing and he interviewed Orban as part of that.
Right.
And what they want is they want the USAID files. And they want, like, I know what Orban wants. He wants the George Soros connections on all those.
Right.
You're going to find Soros. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, we've been trying to sabotage Ukraine since the 1930s. And if you go further back, the West, loosely, if you include Europe, has been trying to undermine Ukraine's relationship to Russia since the 1800s.
But did they have a phrase for it called, in the documents, in the secret documents, transitional justice? And you know what I'm talking about. That is what they did to Trump. That they're trying to do to all these other leaders is to incarcerate them and their followers, their top followers, after they leave office, so they can never get back in again. This apparently happened in Poland, Pakistan, Romania. I mean, it's all across the world, Robert. Bolsonaro, obviously.
I mean, I would like Trump to leverage his relationship with Pakistan, that they release that wrongfully imprisoned political leader. Who was stripped of his, put him back in charge,
right?
And then you got a different relationship in a critical country in Central Asia.
How about Georgescu in Romania?
Yeah, exactly. I'll give Vance credit. Vance has put massive pressure on Romania to have an honest election by going over to Munich and doing the speech to the EU.
Great speech.
And all the European people. That was one of the most beautiful. Even Ann Coulter has had a conversion experience, and she's back on the Trump train.
She's on the train again?
Solely because of that J.D. Vance speech.
Wow.
She's going on and on about it on Twitter. I was like, even she's back in there. Because
let me ask something. When the day starts in the morning, what does Victoria Nuland do every day? What's her day like? You're Victoria Nuland. You wake up and you go, what am I going to do today?
The difference between her and Joe Biden is Biden only cares if he puts money in his pocket. She cares if she destroys the world while she does it.
Right.
And that's who she is. That's who she's always been.
In the ranking of evil countesses, and I'm going to give you some names. You tell me the order. Hillary Clinton, right? Liz Cheney, Victoria Nuland. There's Vandelay at the EU. And who else can I add to this list, Eric, of the most evil women on the earth? What is their ranking, Robert, in your humble opinion? Of evilness.
Pretty tough to ever beat Hillary Rodham Clinton.
I know.
She's always the natural winner.
Repeat winner. Been here a number of times.
When you honeymoon in Haiti, who honeymoons in Haiti? Nobody honeymoons in Haiti. She honeymooned in Haiti.
Look how much money her daughter got at a USAID. She got $3 million for the wedding, about $12 million for that mansion, and she married some wealthy hedge fund guy to begin with. She didn't really need the money.
You know what USAID is parallels? It parallels the Clinton Foundation. Clinton, it's the big mistake.
Well, it goes back further than that, but I mean,
it does. But what the Clintons did is they mirrored it. I think the mistake USAID made is after the Clinton Foundation got up and going, they made the decision to not just be the deep state piggy bank, but to be the Democratic patronage machine. And that
it might have been taken by force when Obama came in. It might have been not surrendered by the Republicans.
That may be true too.
Right. It might have been a hostile takeover, Robert.
The Clinton Foundation had its tentacles everywhere by that point too. They built up their own independent patronage machine. And I just think that was a mistake of the deep state. They should have stayed apolitical. When you get people like Joni Ernst, who would love to work for you against you, you've screwed up if you're the deep state. When you get Marco Rubio complaining about you, you've screwed up. And they just went, it's kind of like what they did to Frank Church, right? There is no church committee. There is no House Assassinations Committee. There is no CIA MK Ultra reveals if they don't illegally spy on Frank Church in the 1960s. He probably doesn't care. He's just a Democrat from Idaho.
That's right.
But give Trump credit. He has bulldozed these people. He is just left.
They don't even know what hit him. This is like a blitzkrieg. It's like a blitzkrieg. It's 24-hour news cycle, 23 hours a day.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And he's managed to achieve at multiple levels. He's managed to get the deep state so distracted by their funds getting cut off that he's going to get peace deals done in the Middle East, Ukraine, and around the world.
Isn't it like there's multiple Trumps now? I mean, Musk is a Trump, J.D. Vance is a Trump, RFK Jr. is a Trump. There's too many Trumps to kill them all, Robert.
Exactly. It was what I argued back in summer of 2017 when he was looking at getting rid of Bannon and went on Fox and said, okay, if you're going to get rid of, you need more generals. You can't be the only general on the field.
Right.
And if you lose Bannon, replace him with more generals like that. Or otherwise, you're going to get isolated and this town's going to devour you.
That's what happened.
I'll give him credit. I wasn't sure that he had learned that lesson. He really had learned that lesson, especially when they tried to kill him. That was another mistake.
Well, they tried to kill him. I think they crossed the Rubicon there. But I mean, to have Musk standing next to him with his kid and him just sitting there, I couldn't believe what I was watching. And the same thing with RFK yesterday.
He managed to get both Gabbard and Kennedy through. I mean, there was a lot of people who thought Kennedy didn't think that was going to happen.
Well, because coming out of the Gates thing was such a debacle that people had bad, mojo thinking this is going to continue.
Well, Tulsi was really precarious there for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I knew that he was going to push that through when he dragged old Richard Burr, Mr. Inside Trader Richard Burr, who's the head of some bogus inside deep state program in D.C. And
aren't these people worried about their own private investments being looked at this point, Robert? Well, and I'm talking about the Pelosi's, the Burrs, all of these cats. Aren't they nervous?
I mean, Burr hates Tulsi Gabbard, and he was the one to introduce her and promote her. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, Trump must be smacking some people around, because to see all these people line up that utterly despise this person, and instead it was a message to the Senate. Look what I can get. I can get one of the most corrupt pro-deep state people to vouch for her. You can guess how it happened and whether you want it to happen to you, because now everybody but McConnell stepped in line.
What is the purpose of McConnell, by the way? I was going to ask, what is the
McConnell's always
purpose?
been? He's always been a prick. I'm glad he's burning his legacy up in lifetime. I've never liked him, but a lot of your normies believed in him. Mike Davis, good, smart guy, but he believed in him because of the court stuff. And I was like, no, this guy he's a sellout. He's always been a sellout. I mean, Trump even put his wife in as Secretary of Transportation that she used to help divert funds to her Chinese family's investments in China, and refused to do anything about mask mandates and vaccine mandates on airlines, which she was the only person who had the legal authority to enforce. You couldn't sue under courts. And yet McConnell still screwed him. So that's just who McConnell is. It's just the ability and willingness of these guys to expose themselves in lifetime. It was like John McCain. Like I was never a John McCain fan, but a lot of your normies believed in him until he voted to keep Obamacare. Oh my God, that guy got reelected for the Senate saying he was going to get rid of it. What a fraud. That's who McConnell's always been a fraud.
By the way, ironically, Cindy McCain was one of the biggest Tulsi proponents.
Yeah, it's so weird. Weird.
Well, Meghan McCain, sorry.
Meghan McCain.
Some of these people that they flipped, Trump's done something behind the scenes to help motivate. But I mean, I agree with you, Mark. There's no doubt that's the subtle message. I think Musk said it publicly today. He said something. No, Doge did. So should we look at auditing all of the sexual harassment? Sweetheart deals that members of Congress.
Well, not only that, it's the families of these judges. If you begin to drill down, the judges are clean. It's a situation where, like the Biden model, the families are feeding at the trough. The judge in New York, his wife had an NGO. The daughter was involved in it. That's who you got to go after, the families of these judges.
And I called it a web of the professional managerial class.
Okay.
Capturing government. And it's just the democratically aligned ones that had the most success with it. But they've just made it one big piggy bank for themselves. And they love the power, and they love to get. But the thing is, it's like what George Orwell said about socialists. He said that socialism would be just fine if you could get rid of all the socialists. And it was revealing about because they're power freaks. But he used to make fun of them. He'd say the socialists would be like, "Well, we love the poor, but do they have to smell so bad?"
And that's a good line.
Exactly.
Well, that model they're trying to create in Los Angeles is a surf model with elites on top and nothing in the middle. Kind of a meatless sandwich, Robert. I mean, they brought in this guy Oberoff. They found out they were paying him $500,000 for 90 days worth of work. He got caught with his hand in a cookie jar. Said, "I'll do it for free." Nobody even knows what his job is that he's doing for free. What is he going to do? Sell the land to Governor Newsom? Nobody knows what is going on out here because it's all behind closed doors. The FBI is going to come down on this chick like they did with Garcetti and others. They've put so many city councilmen in jail here, all through the FBI, all through LA office of the FBI. And when Patel takes over, Katie barred the door because this thing is going to be a revolving door of the Justice Department out here. All with the building trades. That's why I'm mentioning it.
Yeah, well, the other thing is you have an illegal immigration tie in there. I mean, there are a lot of there are like for one key area for black working class employment in LA were certain subcontractors in the building trades, and they were utterly wiped out by all the illegal immigration.
Well, that's why Altadena is such a flashpoint, because it was one of the first black middle class neighborhoods in Los Angeles, going back to the 1965 Fair Housing Act signed by you-know-who, LBJ, which, by the way, on a side note, Doris Kearns Goodwin has just sold her book to Tom Hanks's company to make her and her husband's story into a major film here in Hollywood. Doris Kearns Goodwin and Dick Goodwin's romance book, nonfiction, about her relationship, quote unquote, to both JFK, his relationship to JFK, and her sexual relationship with LBJ are going to be explored in this movie, purchased by Tom Hanks's company and also by Broccoli, the owner of James Bond. She got in there. The Broccoli family bought the other part of the book. And Playtone, the Tom Hanks company, that is a deep state operation making all of these lone nut movies like Parkland with all these different.
That's
yes.
right.
Oh, no. Oliver Stone told me a long time ago that Hanks was spook adjacent. And I never forgot that from Oliver. Them buying this book, it's going to be LBJ and JFK and her husband's relationship to him. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting.
Well, is it going to be honest?
She told friends of mine privately. I mean, she wrote one of the biographies with LBJ, and he famously did his stunt where he said he would go to your bedroom while you were sleeping, staying at the ranch, and he'd go, "This here is your president, honey. Move over." That was his thing. He'd grab the covers and slide in with them, which is what happened to Doris Kearns Goodwin, by the way.
I that's why I'm wondering whether it's going to be honest about all that. Do you think she's gonna?
I don't think she's. It's going to be such a deep state spin on these two guys. There is no way it's going in that direction. I think the book might, but they're not going to put that in the film.
It's going to make LBJ the romantic. Can you imagine?
LBJ the musical? How about that? Yeah. I mean, the book was #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. I mean, it's their relationship.
How fake is a lot of that list now? Because I was walking through the airport. And they got Angela Merkel's book everywhere, everywhere. You can't escape it. It's like, who in America wants to read Angela Merkel's biography? And
it depends how you count the books. If you ship 1 million books to a place in a warehouse and say they were sold, and then send the thing to the New York Times, the New York Times sees 1 million books sold, but they're sitting in a warehouse in New Jersey, I'd say that's corrupt. I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, exactly.
Doris Kearns Goodwin has made herself into America's historian. She's still alive. Dick Goodwin's dead. He was an alcoholic until the day he died. He famously, the story I've told with LBJ and Dick Goodwin and Bill Moyers and Goodwin meet together. Goodwin coming from the previous JFK administration, and Moyers coming from the Great Society with LBJ as his advisor. They decide to go to 2 separate psychiatrists in Washington, D.C., and describe their boss, LBJ, anonymously to 2 top psychiatrists and come back and compare notes. So 3 weeks later, they come back and they compare notes, and both psychiatrists, not even knowing who it was, said this is a sex-addicted, alcoholic, bipolar, megalomaniac, with a possible schizoid type personality disorder. So they look at each other, and Dick Goodwin says, "I'm getting the fuck out of here. What are you doing?" And Moyers says, "I can't get out. I'm stuck like a rat." So he turns in his resignation, Dick Goodwin, and he gets a job on paper at like Oberlin College as a professor. Hasn't started yet. Gets a phone call from LBJ and he says, "Come in here, boy, I want to see you." And he goes into LBJ's office and LBJ says, "You got your boots?" He goes, "What do I need my boots for, sir?" He says, "You're going to Saigon tomorrow." He goes, "What?" He says, "Yeah, you've been drafted, boy." And he says, "No, don't tell me that, sir." He goes, "Nobody gets out of here without my permission. You're going to Saigon." And he goes, "No, please don't send me." And he tears up the resignation in front of his face, in front of Dick Goodwin's face, and says, "Nobody leaves LBJ," which is quite an infamous story.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be in the movie. That's why I'm telling you that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it would be, well, I don't know if that's in the treatment you wrote, Mark, or not. Did you go?
I don't know if it's in my script, but it is in one of the LBJ episodes that we have up on the America's Untold Stories, because I did talk about Dick Goodwin, how he wanted out. Both of these guys knew that LBJ was a megalomaniac psycho. They both knew it. And they really couldn't get out because he tended to kill people, Bob. You know, he tended to use violence.
That's
on
why
occasion.
it was tricky even for Robert Kennedy to get out. That's why he had to run for the Senate in New York, dealing with, he understood who was responsible, at least in part, for his brother's assassination.
Dude, when a guy runs around telling everyone close to him, "I'm going to cut his throat with his finger if it's the last thing I do," people tend to take that a little bit seriously.
Yeah. Now, I'll give Kennedy credit. He's the one who, his willingness to take on Johnson. Johnson could not stand the idea of losing to Bobby Kennedy, and it forced him to step down early. Otherwise,
the feud starts because LBJ calls his father a Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah,
that's where the feud actually started from.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't take a lot to sniff out LBJ politically. But so many people were so weak. That's what he really exposed about Washington.
Right.
Was not that he was psychotic.
Yeah.
It was that so few people were willing to stand up to this.
That's true. That's true. I pointed out this, we were talking with the Shipwreck, but the reason that got me going with this woman, Luna, was that she was on the oversight committee. And on that oversight committee are Presley, Tlaib, Ro Khanna, Eleanor Holmes Norton. These people, if they see anything about LBJ, that file is going to disappear. And we know this because files disappeared during the 1977 House Assassinations Committee. Things that never surfaced after that. So if there was a buffer that they could create to go through those files in the SCIF, they may not ever see the light of day, Robert.
I'm sure there's plenty of people who have want to derail those efforts. I do think.
Yes.
Now Trump has made a personal promise. He's going to give all those files directly to Robert Kennedy.
That's what I want to happen. I really do. I mean, because if certain people, even with the MLK files, if they get into the Willard Hotel and listen to those tape recordings of what Martin Luther King was doing in the Willard, they may feel compelled to destroy them, for his own reputation.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Now, my recollection is what you've said you think is most significant that's excluded is the Mexico-related part of the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, Mexico, because everything in the frame happens in Mexico. The frame up happens in Mexico. The David Atlee Phillips, who was the head of the Western Division of the CIA at the time, orchestrates the frame of Oswald by having the phony Oswald go to the Soviet embassy. The phony Oswald goes to the Cuban embassy. Sylvia Duran is tortured by Mexican secret police on our orders through documents that exist. That could be embarrassing to the Mexican government if you're following the directive of the CIA to torture your own citizens, Robert. And I'm just giving that as a broad example. You know what I mean? There's
that's interesting because that puts into a different context kind of what Trump is threatening vis-a-vis Mexico.
Yes.
In other words, maybe he knows that is one of the key things that's there. And he's like, remember he put out that, they're aligned with the cartels and he got, the Mexican president was up there. How did she become the Mexican president? I mean,
I think she was mayor of Mexico City originally.
She just doesn't look. I mean, I'm used to the either being, your old school left populist types or your
you're talking about PRI. You're talking about PRI.
It's just like she's an unusual animal in that
The
respect.
reason I'm picking Mexico is because A, it's an ally, it's next door, it was involved in the frame of Oswald. If he's not there on September 28th, and this is 2 months before the assassination, then they know that 2 months before the assassination, they're framing the assassin. You know what I mean? If, as J. Edgar Hoover says to LBJ, it's an imposter on the phone and the photos are an imposter. He tells that to LBJ. They destroyed the audio, this guy who runs the University of Virginia, but we still have the transcript of on November 22nd of J. Edgar Hoover telling LBJ that this is an imposter and a fraud in the photo. So that leads you to believe that he's framed in Mexico City, which makes it a volatile situation down there. But I think there's other countries
and those
involved.
tie-ins.
Yeah, I mean, there's a company called Collins Radio. There's a company called Collins Radio that was run by an Admiral Bruton. And Admiral Bruton was a friend of DeMorin and he had put in the secret communication system for all our submarines. And he had involved in that was the nation of Australia. So now you've got Australia and Collins Radio, DeMorin, Oswald, and Admiral Bruton in the same documents. This could be embarrassing for Australia. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Not that they're involved in the assassination, but the documentation opens doors that other countries might not want opened to make it.
Now, who else is alive? Because that's the other thing Trump hinted at, is that there are some people alive who wouldn't like some information.
Ruth Payne up in Northern California. Yeah. Ruth Payne is up there. There's a woman who lives outside of Fort Worth named Marina Oswald, who was browbeaten into submission by the Secret Service until she didn't know what day it was. And two things happened. One is Marguerite Oswald, his mother, refused to cooperate with the FBI and the Secret Service, and she was painted as a nut and broken financially. Marina Oswald, who cooperated, became a very wealthy woman overnight, Robert, to the tune of $400,000.
Somebody in the chat says that Trump should make the J. Edgar Hoover building the new headquarters for Victoria's Secret.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, also, I think, just on the side note, these recent 2,400 files that they found from the FBI, I have a funny feeling that these may have been Hoover's personal files on the JFK assassination, and nobody had the chutzpah to destroy them because of their legacy of where they came from.
Right. Because otherwise, didn't all of his secret files disappear?
Yeah, but I think these are them. I think
right.
These are them related to the Kennedy assassination.
You got
the Secretary.
Somebody got those files, right? It's like John Trump going over to get Elon Musk. I mean, to get Tesla's files. That you got to imagine somebody smart got their hands on it.
People do not want to destroy files, and I'll tell you why. There was a guy who was the acting director of the FBI, L. Patrick Gray, as you remember, Robert, and his confirmation process got derailed. And it got derailed because a guy asked him to destroy the files of E. Howard Hunt that were in the White House safe. And they said, "Why did you do it?" He said, "I was asked to do it by a guy named John Dean." And that begins the cover-up of Watergate, because Dean is now destroyed evidence in a case. And L. Patrick Gray's confirmation goes off the rails. That's why people in modern politics, I believe, are reluctant to destroy evidence, because it can be traced back to the destroyer.
Right.
That's really the reason that some of these documents still exist.
Did John Dean stay married to that prostitute that he was trying to help cover up with Watergate?
Alleged. He's very, he sues.
Allegedly.
He can sue me. John Dean is a criminal fraud, deep state.
Still married to that wonderful woman, Maureen Dean, who has stayed with him through that wonderful, gorgeous woman, Maureen Dean.
So I guess you've already got the retraction demand letter.
No, one of our guests did, Jeff Shepard.
Who worked with him. Yeah.
Nixon's lawyer did, that's for sure.
And he made it very clear before he came on. He said, "Look, John Dean will sue."
Right.
Period.
Have at it.
Well, he sued Liddy and never won, and Liddy was quite happy to be sued by him. He liked getting the discovery.
Yes, exactly.
Nope, there is that.
But something's going to give with these files over the next few months. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but something's got to give because it's built up to such an incredible fervor now of releasing whatever is in there. And, look, I personally don't know what's in there because 99.9% have been released already. The system to release them, once he gets a new archivist for people at home, the archivist was fired. That was a Biden archivist. She was involved in the Mar-a-Lago debacle. It's a confirmed seat, so you have to go through confirmation process, right, Robert, for the archivist. Once he gets the new archivist in there, this is my take on it, they can begin to upload the documents onto the National Archives website, which is where all the rest of them are, including the Biden documents that were uploaded, including Trump's 23, 22, 21, going back every single year. None of them are released in 2024, so the new releases would go on that website. That's controlled by the archivist. So when that woman or man, I believe, gets in place, that's when I think we'll physically see the documents in that space.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah,
all right.
Because that's where the rest of them are. So
I've got a whole backload of super chats that have come in and memberships and things like that. We definitely want to address this from the folks, which we appreciate. Sometimes the shows get crowded. We don't always know how.
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to be this crowded.
Dick Dickerson with 20 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you. And Fletcher Boy. Yeah, Vance did a great job in a speech today. The German defense minister was out there crying like a baby afterwards. It was fantastic. Thomas Smith, is Karen Bass any worse than Lori Lightfoot?
Not now. It depends how you define worse. She's a much smoother Marxist, an avowed Marxist, and a former Black Panther, someone very close to Fidel Castro, involved in gun running to the Castro regime. A lot slicker than Lightfoot was. A lot slicker.
Yeah, and the new guy's more of a communist than Lightfoot even was. I mean,
yes,
the new guy's worse. So everybody's like, "Oh, we finally got rid of her," and then it's like, "Hold my beer."
Well, the thing with Adams in New York, with Hochul threatening to pull him, Robert. Constitutionally, she has the power to remove the mayor of New York. I did not know that. I mean, she's threatening to remove the mayor of New York. I mean, there'll be riots in Bedford-Stuyvesant if she does that. White lady removes black mayor of New York. Headline New York Post. Give me a break. Give me a break. Karen removes black mayor. Oh.
That'd be interesting. Sam, it's just a reminder, LA Mayor Bass is vice chair of NED.
Yeah, you see Trump is going after NED now.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Deep state rats are terrified. I agree.
A lot of rats out there, man. A lot of rats.
T-Dog, the two Brits were Rory Stewart, former MP and private tutor to Prince Harry, and Alistair Campbell, Tony Blair's right hand who sexed up the W&D dossier in 2003. Both massive establishment shit. Lovely.
By the way, somebody pointed out to me the other day, anytime there's an American, a journalist from Britain in America doing stuff, they're always MI6.
Mm.
Keep that in mind.
Deep tech. You know who has ties to that? People should look up the peculiar history of Sebastian Gorka. There's a reason.
It's definitely peculiar, bro. It's definitely peculiar.
Yeah, you don't like Sebastian Gorka. There's something.
Well, he was pimping for Zelensky and whoring for war, and he was being absurd about it. And so I just called him out on it. And so he went ballistic on me. He had like a whole episode dedicated to attacking Barnes.
Not a fan.
And what was he attacking me for? For representing Alex Jones. I was like, that's your problem, Sep. Go back to Hungary. Go back to Britain where the intelligence agencies trained you. It's your fault you couldn't get in.
Well, I think he's got that crazy accent that I can't even do. It's a mixture of Hungary and Britain, Yeah.
People, James Bond villain. That's your boy. Doge needs to hire Ligma Ball so CNN/MSNBC has to say it on air.
Big Balls is connected to some mutual friends of ours.
No, really?
He reached out to can you help him out? I was like, yeah, happy to help help him out, no problem. In case he needs.
How old is Big Balls?
He's young. He's just a kid. He's like in his 20s. There are all these little autists that are part autist on the 20s that are just, and of course they say all kinds of crazy things on the internet because that's what you do if you're Gen Z. You get on the internet, say crazy. That's part of the thing. They just made a huge deal out of it, but it was funny as heck to have a a line across CNN at the bottom saying "Big Balls takes on whatever." It's like this is
well.
great.
Then he became Hairy Balls, didn't he, Musk?
Yeah, Musk did that. Yeah.
He became Hairy Balls.
Did you see Michael Dell's tweet? I thought that was a classic.
His response. Yes.
Yeah, somebody was bitching about Big Balls, and they were saying, "What did you do when you were 19?" And Michael Dell said, "Well, I started a computer company. It seems to be working out okay."
Oh, Dell Computers. That's funny.
Yeah, I was like, "Damn, that was nice."
That's one of the things Mark Halpern was talking about. The Democratic Party trying to wage war in a fascistic style on big tech, who was their complete ally, and in their
2 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago.
Has got to be one of the worst tactical decisions made in American political
I was
history.
watching a cameo by Musk on The Big Bang Theory last night from a number of years ago, where he's washing dishes with one of those kids from The Big Bang Theory. That's how much he was involved with the other side. He was making
all these
cameos.
guys were. I mean, Dell were these guys. I mean,
hosted Saturday Night Live.
Completely.
Which one? Oh, Musk was on SNL.
Yeah, he's hosting it. No, I mean, no, Musk was the darling. But you're talking about this.
There you go. Oh yeah, this is from I saw this last night.
You got to be kidding me. Sorry? You're Elon Musk. I am?
Wow. How the mighty have risen. How the mighty have risen.
Yeah, well, no, it used to be that everybody bought a Tesla. I mean, it was like the Prius was the hot car, and then the Tesla became the Uber. The really cool people all had Teslas.
Yeah,
and now they're backlashing against.
Well, what's the name? I don't know. It was Pocahontas or some or one of them was talking about how he got this contract for $400 million for Tesla tanks, and somebody pointed out that was under the Biden administration. Maddow was doing it. Yeah.
Mad cow.
And she got it. I think she had to do a retraction or something about it. But
really? That's new. I mean, you see him all writing checks to Trump. The
CBS case, the CBS one, which is now $20 billion, Robert, that may take down Paramount. I predict on this show a couple of weeks ago that I think he's going to put these guys on the board. These guys, meaning Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and John Voight. He's not doing this for fun. He's doing this to take control of Hollywood and making them an ambassador. You say ambassador to what? I think one of the deals he's going to make is to put them on the board of these companies.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what he's right about is there has to be cultural counterbalance.
Yeah.
I mean, Disney advertising at the Super Bowl, pretending they're not, insane. And then they put out the new Captain America is basically anti-American.
Right.
I mean, what? I mean, this is not.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Well, it's going to take a while to change the direction of the Queen Mary here, because some of these have been in development a long time, including, I didn't know this. Maybe you guys knew this. I didn't know this. When Kendrick Lamar was doing the halftime Super Bowl show that nobody could understand, and I thought, why don't they ever have a country act? What is it with these rap acts every year? Well, it turns out that after George Floyd, the NFL gave the contract to a guy named Jay-Z of Rock Nation to be in charge of the talent. I didn't know that. And now apparently I'm hearing from my sources in the hood that Jay-Z might be the next Diddy. And the NFL might be distancing themselves.
He was very close with Diddy.
Right.
He was the closest
Did he do it
of
or
all
didn't?
of them.
Right. People are starting to move away, according to my sources, from Jay-Z, and that might be the NFL itself also.
Well, you'll know it's for real for sure when Beyonce divorces him.
Right.
Well, I've heard that there was some immediate friction there. So,
well, there has been for a while. Jay-Z bangs anything that moves anyway.
Wait a minute, that's a cheap shot. How dare you? How dare you?
All right,
what is Wolfgang? Go ahead.
Yeah, JFK files released to be a dog and pony extravaganza to protect who.
No, I don't think it's a dog and pony extravaganza at all. None of the other files have ever been that. And I've gone through quite a few of them, and so have the people I've mentioned who I'd like to be on the files case, including Jim Diogenio and Rex Bradford, and maybe Dick Russell, who works with RFK. I'd like him on the panel. I beg to disagree. I've learned so much stuff from the files that are out there, Robert.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's the ultimate deep state crime.
Yeah.
And so it would make sense to lead up to it rather than start out that way.
Right. And people don't understand that many of the files lead over to the other files, and they don't really understand what they are themselves. The people who know the files inside and out can take a look at files that were released in 1996 and see a connection to the 2023 release under the Biden administration. There is a whole logic and system to these things. Yep. Many have been unredacted, by the way, over the years as well.
All right, Nick Juicy said, was going to use this $10 on a rose for my girlfriend today, but she's mean. She yells, swears, and hits me. She's Irish and blonde. I'm Italian. I should have known better. Enjoy the $10.
All right. Sorry for your girlfriend. I'm sorry for her loss.
But we'll take the cash. Thank you.
I think that's a reference to Shipwreck, the Dick Dickerson's phrase.
Yeah.
But you do anything special for Valentine's, Eric?
Leslie ordered some food that'll hopefully get here at some point. But yeah, we may be having to wrap just slightly earlier on the show, just to let everybody know. I know Mark's got a cold, so we'll see on that. But
we'll go as long as we can.
Yeah. Diffuse, hit the like button. Thank you very much. And Diffuse again gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. Alex Davy Duke. I think you'll remember him, Robert. He was in Vegas both years, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Robert, had a discussion with a workmate, and he got me to admit I'd pay $10,000 Canadian. He did have to qualify it. It's not saying American dollars, but anyway, to go to a 1776 Law Center event at Mar-a-Lago. So $2,000, that's a bargain. Great news about Brooks FCA and HHS being the defendant.
Yeah, that is great news.
It is a beautiful place. Have you guys been there yet?
No, but I've been to Viva's house, and that's attractive.
Yeah,
I mean, unless you step on one of the 10 million toys and twist an ankle,
or the dog,
or the blind dog, the disabled dog, or the other.
You don't know which way to look in that house because everything is. You talk about a negligence attorney. You'd have a field day in that house.
Definitely. Thomas Grigsby. Always felt the bomb was a placeholder in case the storming of the Capitol didn't happen. Also, congrats to Barnes being the first American to win the.
Oh, very good.
The
first
there
American.
You go.
I didn't realize that, Robert.
Well played, Thomas.
First American in American history to ever win the Friend of American Untold Stories Award.
That is kind of ironic that the first winner of the award
went to a foreigner. It went to a foreigner.
Stealing our awards. They steal our jobs. They steal our awards. Oh, my God.
He didn't even say anything. He must have known, Viva.
It must have. I don't know. Tom Woolley. Awesome. Got my tickets for the Las Vegas meetup. Looking forward to meeting Barnes. I'm even bringing my brother again.
Boy, this brother, Woolley drags his brother everywhere. I love that.
Well, his brother, Barnes, is the chiropractor to the stars.
Oh, really?
So he has some stories about different people, and I don't know what can be said out loud or not. But anyway,
you'll talk to him yourself. He's got some chiropractic stories. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, there's some definite stories. So
I always remember a client that I had. There was a chiropractor client that owed some fees, and he said, "Hey, good news! I'll be able to pay the legal fees." He goes, "Thank God for automobile accidents."
Yeah.
Let's see, Marklo Asset. I can't see it. What does Trump want from Canada? 51st state, a change in government, go along to get along?
Yeah. What do you think is the end game, Robert?
Transport. He wants control over shipping related to certain parts that Canada controls, also Greenland. He wants control of securing the water. Hegseth kind of let this out of the bag today. Hegseth
that wasn't smart.
Our submarines are not good. He's like, who thinks we're going to wage a naval war with Russia? And that's part of what Trump's concern is. China's been building up its submarine fleet, still nowhere near where the U.S. is.
Right.
Trump is concerned about controlling shipping lanes, primarily, secondarily, national security interest. And he thinks that not having control over Greenland, Panama, and certain routes and areas around Canada pose problems for him that could be cured if he had operational control over those three regions. So ultimately, Canada's not going to become a fifth state.
Right,
but the question is what he can leverage along the way to get the security interest he wants to get. He always is going to start way out and then pull back in. But he is serious about these things in the sense that he thinks it's critical to national security. He thinks it's critical to trade. And he thinks it's critical in restoring the U.S. manufacturing base away from China. And in particular, they don't like the fact that China controls critical components of the supply chain. So
they also have rare earth minerals up there from last time I looked. You know,
so does Greenland.
That's what he's telling Zelensky. Yeah, they do have it up in Greenland. He wants it out of Ukraine too. Ukraine has some of that.
And I guess Putin already agreed. He said, "I got no problem with it. They can have
how much territory? How much territory will Putin receive in this settlement?
It'll be the 4 regions that they have already hired. They've already taken, because that's all he wanted anyway. I mean, he could go down to Odessa and landlock Ukraine. He's not anti-Ukraine. He wants the security of his border, and he wants the Russian populations no longer harassed.
Let me ask you this: in terms of carnage, money, having no logic, and land loss, is this the biggest debacle in the history of warfare?
The Ukraine war,
Iraq. Yeah.
It's one
in terms of everything that, at the end of the day, territory, money, death. Territory, money, death. Is this the biggest debacle in the history of warfare?
No, nothing can trump World War I, because World War I gave us fascism, communism.
But what? You're talking about negative outcomes out of World War I.
If World War I doesn't happen, we never get Hitler. We never get Mussolini. We never get Franco. We never get the Soviet Union.
Never get the Cold War.
Yeah, we don't get the Cold War. So that's why I say Woodrow Wilson's like as bad as Biden is. It's hard to trump Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson did the Federal Reserve, income tax. I mean, you go through a list of horrible things. It's like Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, I think a lot of agree. Number one,
I was driving on Woodrow Wilson Drive here just the other day, which is up here in the hills.
Exactly, and that's where it belongs. Isle of Boston. Anna Paulina Luna is hardcore MAGA. She's like Byron Donalds.
Only without a brain. Only without a brain. She's just like Byron Donalds.
Yeah, stick to Hawkeye wrestling. Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say no on that.
What is interesting is that she had to go to the congressional floor to talk about whatever was happening with her ex. Because it wasn't that her.
No.
I don't think so. I mean,
that was North Carolina, Nancy Mace.
Oh, you're right. South Carolina, Nancy Mace.
Right. This girl was a stripper. This girl was a stripper in a gentleman's club in Tampa. She then graduated to being a pole dancer and then became a congresswoman. This is
polls.
Well, she's now my favorite congresswoman then.
Right. No. The Maxim thing was the peak of her career. But right before that, she was working. She is the sex kitten version on the right of AOC. That's who she is. This is AOC of the right.
Maybe. Well, we got a couple AOCs on the right. I mean, Boebert's got a little bit of that going. Marjorie.
I'll tell you, some people don't. Well,
no, but I mean, AOC works in a bar. AOC works in a bar
in person. That she's one like most people you meet in person, like okay, especially Hollywood actresses and the rest. You're like, this is a major letdown.
Yeah,
not Lauren Boebert. Just saying.
Oh, interesting.
George Orwell. I wonder if Doris Kearns Goodwin is going to try on a swimsuit for LBJ. Never mind.
I think she already did. I think she already wore the swimsuit. She told my roommate Legs McNeil, in the famous author of Please Kill Me, that she did indeed sleep with LBJ to get the book deal that she did with him. So this is from one person removed to me.
Mo Bishop. What was the movies you recommended, and which hotels do you recommend? Forrest Dealey, or
what is this, booking.com? Well, we got a show going on here.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here.
Well, I assume they're asking about the Dallas Kennedy November.
I don't know if we're doing that or not. I don't think, we haven't heard from anybody, and I'm not sure if that's what's going to happen in November. Could be an interesting conference this year, though.
Yeah.
Pamela Clifton. Happy Valentine's Friday, guys. I love the thumbnail. It's the best one, especially with all the great things happening. Thank you.
There's too much winning, Robert. I never thought we'd be winning so much. I am tired and exhausted from winning now.
Exactly.
But I will take it for the team and keep winning.
Okay.
JS. I think they needed a new head of DEA. Should look at bad policies with regard to hospital supply of critical need drugs. They're over controlling, putting patients at risk. Regardless, I think you all are great.
Yeah, I think Well, two areas where Kennedy can have major impact is school, in terms of what happens with schools and what happens with hospitals in terms of our food supply, not just our medical supply.
Oh, that's a good area. I never thought of that.
I think I think it's a perfect area to really explore. And credit to Trump today. I've been calling for this for a while, and Trump did it. I didn't even know he was going to do it. He came out and said no federal funding for any institution that mandates any vaccine.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
That is awesome.
That's got to hurt.
Every school in the country now will take those vaccine mandates off because every single one other than Hillsdale, which never had a vaccine mandate, takes money from the federal government.
Wow.
Awesome.
There's a position called U.S. National Cyber Director, Robert, where Biden had this black dude who was former CIA digital mad genius guy who just Croker or Hoker, I forget his name. And it's a big job. And Trump is putting in a guy named Sean Cairncross, who was the head of the Republican National Committee with no background in any digital cyber thing that I could see. And there's a guy that I'd like to see in there named Mike Benz, who I believe would be the perfect person to run this thing. I don't know. He's putting in a hack, I guess, to keep a lid on this thing, but it is a real job with real intelligence apparatus.
Well, to a degree, he's kind of supplanted because the Obama helped create the legal predicate for Doge.
Yeah.
He created this sort of backdoor agency that didn't have to go through conflict checks, that had special approvals to do all this activity, had federal funding appropriated for them. And that's what Doge is now using. And I think it's almost that he wants a lot of the digital aspects of security really kind of partially run by Doge connected people.
Okay.
No, I mean, the main person I'm concerned with right now in terms of appointments is Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture. Now she just got in,
right?
But she has no background that says she's going to fight for small farmers.
Right.
Amos Miller's still getting harassed at both the state and federal level.
Wow.
So the Amish delivered heavily for Trump.
Yeah.
He needs a lot of small farmers supported him. There's farmers that are being threatened with having all their land taken away from them in a certain case in the Midwest that some other people have made me aware of. There's all the farmers that have been having to destroy their chicken because of the bird flu nonsense that people were pushing.
Is the bird flu a bioweapon, by the way, in your humble opinion? What is the deal here?
Oh, I'm sure a lot of this is at least connected to bioweapons. The guy I follow on this is the guy Alex Jones turned me on to, Francis Boyle. He's a law professor at the University of Illinois. Yeah. But he helped craft the bioweapons limitation, the bioweapons treaties and the conventions and the laws on that. So he's tracked forever their effort to evade the bioweapons by pretending they're biodefense when they're clearly bioweapons.
Yeah.
And he has tracked all the different releases over time. And so he was the first one to say, I remember when Jones told me, I was like, Jones said right away, oh, it came out of a lab. I'm like, how can you be so sure? He's like, I talked to Francis Boyle. Here's how it broke down. Boom, boom, boom. Here's where the money goes.
We had the bird flu in 2015 that killed a lot of chickens, but nothing like this. Costco's limiting it to 2 cartons of eggs now. They had mobsters that stuck up a tractor trailer at gunpoint to steal eggs the other day on the Jersey Turnpike. Right out of Goodfellas.
The thing they're not talking about, the only reason why this can even become a risk of wiping out food supply is because it's so monopolized. Yeah. If we didn't have 3 or 4 companies controlling all the food supply, then the probability of bird flu reaches a small farm in, say, North Carolina from Wisconsin is extremely remote. It's only high because everything's concentrated.
Right.
And that allows the infectious diseases to be far more impactful.
But Boyle just died 2 weeks ago.
Who did?
Francis Boyle just died 2 weeks ago.
Probably from the bird flu that probably got to him. Probably ate some bad eggs.
If you're a conspiracy theorist, the timing of that would be interesting. He was old. But if you would be a little bit
74. That's not that bad.
All right, that's not that old. That is a little bit peculiar. Boyle knew more than anybody where all the biolabs were and how the releases had happened and all the rest. He understood that area better than anybody in the world. So it's interesting that he gets taken out after Trump gets inaugurated.
Somebody told me that Caroline Kennedy is sitting on quite a bit of JFK files information handed down from her own mother, Jackie Kennedy, including the chapter on the assassination from William Manchester's book, The Death of a President, that was sealed in a vault when he was sued by Jackie Kennedy for actually publishing in the book the interview he did with her. And in that interview, she famously, according to sources, indicated that LBJ was involved in the assassination of her husband. Wow. Her and Bobby Kennedy went to court and got that restraining order against that chapter, which apparently now is controlled by Caroline Kennedy.
That's interesting. I always thought that was different aspects that were always interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Kennedy, somebody wrote, Drew Pinsky said, that's Dr. Drew, obviously, said JFK never had Addison's, but was hooked on opiates and then got on methamphetamines. Is that true?
I'm wondering about, like, I used to believe a lot of the anti-Kennedy conspiracy theories. Then getting to know Bobby Kennedy, his view was that a lot of that I had heard was actually from the intelligence community, from the CIA, trying to cover up their crime and destroy the Kennedy legacy. And so now I don't know if I believe a lot of the anti-Kennedy conspiracy theories.
Well, 1960 here in Los Angeles, there's a press conference with the campaign manager for LBJ named John Connolly, who comes out famously and says JFK's got Addison's disease and he can't become president, so you might as well vote for a good old boy who is my client running for president. LBJ is upstairs in room 1223. And then RFK goes ballistic on John Connolly for saying these medical misinformation things, according to RFK and his writings.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Sean Lucan gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you. Hey, Dog. Biden put the economy in such a hole there is no way to correct it quickly. Will this kill us in the 2026 elections?
No, because I think right now things are trending very favorably for Trump in 2026. Mitch McConnell's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Maybe Lindsey Graham's going to be gone. I mean, those are pluses because you're going to replace them with much better Republicans. The Minnesota Democrat Senator says he's not going to run for re-election. Michigan Democratic Senator says not running for re-election.
We may get a new governor here in California who has no place else to go but Sacramento, Robert, and is ahead in the polls by a mile.
All right, Karen Trickenbrod. When will we start seeing some arrests?
That's going to be a while, and I don't know if we ever really fully will. That's one part I'll see if they have the guts to deliver on, but I think there's a lot of nervous Nellies. I mean, look at these. It was a Scalia clerk, Federalist Society person. They had director SDNY.
Yeah.
And she goes ballistic over Eric Adams.
It's insane. Can you explain that to me? And took her staff with her.
The arrogance of the Southern District of New York, it can never be underestimated. Though I will say, in my dealing with them, I have got them to fold in every case that I've represented them in because of how political they are. You find what their weak point is and you hammer it. But they are the nastiest, most ego-driven prosecutors in the country. And a lot of prosecutors, frankly, are that way. They're power-driven. They're not conscience-driven, unfortunately.
Don't they usually resign and then submit their resignation?
That's what it should be. Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that traditionally what happens when there's a new administration, Robert?
It's this whole professional managerial class that thinks they're above everybody. That their definition of the rule of law is the rule of them as lawyers. That their definition of democracy is their control over the money. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's who these people, and they're like shocked that they could ever be, their power, prerogative, or privilege could ever be challenged. Like, oh, how could it possibly be the case? And they assume they go to the court of public opinion, think everybody's with them, and people are like, what? And you got normies. I talked to normies out here in Vegas. They don't care about politics. They're like, some dude was on the internet talking about how he can't, he can't pick up his kid because he's got to be at work for the federal government. And the guy was like, what the heck are you doing? That means you weren't working every day, pal. And to the ordinary normie who has to have a real job, who has to do real work, they're shocked by the attitude, the arrogance of the Democratic Party and all of these professional managerial class allies in the bureaucracy.
Well, what percentage do you think are going to take the buyout? Is the buyout over? Is that?
Oh no, it's still going. They've sued to try to stop it. They got it temporarily stopped. All this jazz. Ultimately, I think he can get I mean, hopefully up to 10%.
I was going to say 20, but that's a little high. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would love it to be half. I mean, I've said forever what my advice to everybody up there has been, look, they're good. They're going to create nightmares for you when you try to get rid of these people. Just defund them. Defund them. Democrats understood that when they said defund the police. They understand. Defund the deep state.
That's my new bumper sticker.
There you go.
Defund the deep state. I mean, where does this USAID, where is the bottom of this USAID gig?
It's at Langley.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
All right. Well, I'm glad Barnes is here. You might be able to answer some of this with us. Chances are that all this file delay is to protect Ruth Payne. Will we see her IRS records released?
Okay.
Also, Oswald.
Go ahead. Yeah, Oswald's IRS has been sealed also for 60 years, or whatever, 70 years, as are the Payne's IRS files. Inexplicably sealed, as is the tapes of Martin Luther King by a federal judge out of Atlanta from wiretaps signed by RFK when he was Attorney General. Separate events, but the IRS has got to come up with those files, Bob. I mean, come on. I mean, Oswald has his IRS files frozen for 60 years. Same with Ruth Payne. She's at least alive.
Right. So there's a reason there. But Michael is dead, and
the
what
ones
are the
that
odds
are
of
dead,
getting Oswald?
Yeah. What's that?
Yeah, the ones that are dead, there's less argument to prevent.
Oh, they're clearly hiding. The only thing they could be hiding is a declaration of government income.
The employer.
Exactly. Now, the other thing there is the other way that could get disclosed is to just disclose that the payment was made. And for that, you wouldn't even need the IRS records. You need the record of the payment that came in.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't realize until it just came out that this small cadre of people running the Treasury payment system, that they had blocked every president since Truman from accessing that file, that information. That's apparently what's coming out. Jeffrey Tucker Brownstone Institute is confirmed. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's an inside job, bro. It's an inside job.
That's crazy. Outright mental defective. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when Trump flips these a-holes. Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day, team, from NJ Kathy. Thank you.
I can't wait to see the Trump's wife's documentary on Netflix that Brett Ratner is directing.
Well, by the way, behind the
Trump,
scenes clue that Trump was up to something different than was on the Middle East was the fact that Melania Trump was having dinner with the wife of the Jordanian leader
like
a week ago or a week before you met. And I was like, he's now using Melania to help do soft
as an emissary.
She's involved though. She didn't seem interested before, but now it seems like
you try
to kill her. Grown up.
You try to kill her husband and you raid her house, you got a whole different animal on your hands.
Can we put these Gazans into Egypt and Jordan and rebuild that strip with condominiums?
Well, I think Trump's fundamental assumptions are that the right to return is not a solution.
Right.
A two-state solution is no longer a solution.
Correct.
And so he thinks, how do I convert the Palestinian population into caring about something other than constant conflict with Israel? And Trump thinks just create a better, more prosperous life for them. And the best place for that to happen would be other parts of the Arab Muslim world. And at the same time, he wants to force the other Arab Muslim nations to no longer use the Palestinians as a convenient.
Well, as a former Cold War pawn, which is what they were.
Oh, yeah.
They scattered 7.3 million Syrians throughout the world. They can't get rid of 1.7 million Palestinians who are right there. I don't get it.
It's solely because they need the conflict to be constant.
Oh, I know, of course.
If there's ever a solution, they no longer get to use it as a political issue.
Right, but here's a guy with a bounty on his head that Trump put on him who's now running Syria, for Christ's sakes. How did that happen?
Exactly. Tulsi Gabbard nailed that one.
Yeah.
She was dead right about where that was going to go. What a disaster.
What a disaster. What a disaster that is.
Completely.
And it happens right before Trump gets into power. Just to make sure.
Oh, completely. I think Trump will make as much progress as you can. I think he'll maintain the peace.
Yeah.
Whether he can get ultimate peace, that's such an entrenched issue with so many entrenched tie-ins. That's the hurdle he's facing.
Yeah.
But I think he's on the right path in terms of separate the Arab and Muslim world from the Palestinian cause, and you end the Palestinian conflict. because it's the source.
Right.
Of
I mean, a lot of people don't understand that it just simply goes back to the Cold War.
Yeah.
That this funding, was going to them from the Soviet Union, and when they dried up, it was picked up by other sources, but they never got the telegram that the Cold War was over.
Exactly. And well, the other thing is, let's say you're an Arab Muslim leader and you want to be a pan-Arabist, or you want to be a pan-Islamic leader, or you just want credibility in your domestic population. The quickest way to do it is to say, I'm for the Palestinians, right?
As long as they don't come here.
Well, exactly. It's wave the bloody flag, like old post-Civil War American politics, to hide the real issue of the failure of your own governance.
Yeah, I mean, you could trace it. You could trace it back to American civil rights. I'm for the Negroes, unless they're living in my suburban neighborhood. I'm not so in favor of them then.
Well, and they pretend that they keep the Palestinians locked up there for the purpose of supporting the Palestinian cause. But that's not the case, because for a while they did take them into Jordan, they did take them into Lebanon, they did take them into Syria, they did take them into Egypt. They just kicked them out each time because they caused so much trouble.
All right. Stephen McMahon said psychic Anthony Leggett published in the Examiner 30 years ago that the waterways around Greenland and Baffin Island would become supremely big.
This is Ed McMahon's grandson, by the way, from the Tonight Show. He's been correct on so many issues, including this one.
All right. And Fletcher Boy said, I propose we start a movement to send copies of Reading for Dummies to Maxine.
This woman is so damaged, Robert. She can barely get her wig on straight. I counted the other day, was a confirmation hearing. I think it was for Tulsi, or it might have been RFK. There were 6 different senators shaking from Parkinson's disease on the committee. 6 of them shaking.
Well, you talk about corruption. How did Maxine Waters get so fabulously rich? In what?
Banking, local banking.
Yep.
All right, David March. Last year, I watched the documentary Taylor of Panama. Really enjoyed the Agent Garbo portrayal. Trying to get to Vegas for this birthday party. Awesome.
Okay. Great movie. But
it's not a documentary.
No,
Pierce Brosnan did one. I know that.
Yeah. I think that's the one he's referencing.
But no, that was fun. Carl Burkhalter, for Ukraine attacks on the Surovican line. Okay. In 2023, to drive to the Sea of Azov on the advice of General Milley were seriously stupid.
Well, of course.
Okay. Well, Milley is stupid. Soul Doggy, Mark, right on. Benz is awesome and should be part of this administration.
Absolutely.
He was part of the last one.
Trump. Yep. He was over at state.
Yeah. So it's deputy director or whatever. Also, I really hope that after his frauds, we finally see the dollar clawbacks. Yeah, well,
the other sign I know the right people are getting fired is Amanda Milius of Plot Against the President, daughter of the great John Milius, who worked at the State Department during Trump's tenure and complained about all the frauds and fakes and phonies and traitors there, has been praising how many of them have been getting canned. So that was fun to watch. So I'm curious about what her next films are going to be. I know she got the John McAfee rights. I mean, she's got her father's
I think she had her fingers into that General Flynn documentary because it looks too good to be made by amateurs, and her name is in the credits, in the marketing credits. There was something she was involved in with that film.
Yeah, she's fantastic. It's a funny personality to be around her.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up here and head over to Locals, which is something people can join for free. And you don't have to watch commercials or ads even.
Is that true? Unstructured.locals.com, Robert?
Unstructured.locals.com.
Where can we find Robert if people are looking for him on YouTube?
I got on my political bets, been cashing those left and right. Had predicted 52 senators for Gabbard, 52 senators for Kennedy. Cash. Got Biden's pardons of his family. Thank God for that corruption. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Because for him to pardon his brother dropped to 50-1.
Wow.
So some people cashed in huge. So the Super Bowl, big winner once again. So the all the political bets, sports bets, all the rest. Up at sportspicks.locals.com.
That's where you got to go. I meant to tell you the interpreter for Otani, who impersonated him, was sentenced last week here in LA to, I think, 57 months federal prison, and it came, as I thought, from the bookie who said he felt sorry for him, but is getting probation himself because I think he flipped on him. But he also put up the numbers that Otani's interpreter won $140 million in bets, over 140, but he lost 184. This is over a period of years, a couple of years.
Wow.
So he was
impressive.
42 million in the hole. And then he was impersonating Otani on the phone to Bank of America, asking for a car loan for $200,000, just saying he was him, and they gave it to him. But I always thought it was about this bookie, and the bookie was legit. He lived in Vegas, lived in Costa Rica, but unfortunately had another home in La Jolla, and that's how Newsom's guys got him. Was simply having an additional residence in California.
Well, we'll continue this part of the discussion over on Locals.
Oh, yeah, come on over. We'll keep talking about it over there to the members, Robert.